Hello everybody and welcome to episode 57 of the Spawn Point podcast. My name is Matt and today I am joined by the one and only Steve Barnett.
Hello!
So Andy and Ebby aren't here for today's episode, but we have something very interesting to talk about today, and that is Call of Duty and a recent rumour. I haven't said what it is yet because Steve knows nothing about what this rumour is or this report is of where it's going to be set or when it's going to be set, I should rather say. But we're going to be talking a little bit about that, and also I'm going to be trying to explain to Steve what I thought of the Doom closed beta that is still running right now, actually. I played a little bit of that. I streamed it on the Vectra Twitch channel, and I really enjoyed it. But I should start by saying that this episode, as with all episodes, are on iTunes. So you can go onto iTunes on your phone and you can go on the podcast app, look up the Spawn Point and listen to all of our episodes on there, which is kind of useful, especially when you're driving, because, you know, Steve, you can't watch a video and drive. We wouldn't recommend that.
No.
That'd be very dangerous. Please don't do that. Of course, this episode is sponsored by Virtual Gladiators. You can get 10% off Minecraft servers with the code Vectra, and you can also get some cheap some cheap PC and console games from CD Keys, and the link for both of those is in the description for the YouTube version of this podcast. But let's start today's episode by talking about Doom. Steve, you've been quite excited. Well, you've been looking forward to Doom, and it's releasing next month now. Could you believe it? It's almost a month until the game comes out now.
I know, and I can't wait because I'm going to be buying it as soon as it comes out.
So I got an invite on my birthday. Actually, I got an invite to the Doom closed beta, and I was like, oh, I hope I can stream this. And then the official Doom Twitter account said, yeah, you can stream it all weekend long. So I was like, awesome, I'm going to do that. And if anybody goes back and watches the Twitch stream, or anybody who watched it at the time, will realise that a lot of gore was to be expected. There was lots of blood, there was lots of violence, and you could see my facial expressions at certain times, especially when I need somebody's head off of their body. That was a big moment for me, because I wasn't, I think a bit like you, Steve, I was excited for the campaign and the co-op aspect of, and like that snap maps thing where people can make their own levels and upload them, like the community can make stuff. But in terms of the actual competitive multiplayer stuff, I wasn't as into as everything else. So I was a bit on the fence about that stuff. And then I came away from playing like 2 hours of this beta going, I'm actually just as excited for the multiplayer as I am with the rest of the game. I don't know if you ever played, I'm trying to think, if you ever played like Unreal Tournament at all, any of those games. It's a lot like Unreal Tournament from back in the day, which is like those kind of fast-paced old-school shooters where you don't have a sprint button because generally everyone moves really fast. And it's, you know, there's no kind of, there are kind of like bonuses you can get for when you die. But in terms of, there's no like, perks, or the loadouts are simply you pick, there's no complication like there is with Call of Duty now. So pretty much when you have a loadout, you pick, I want these two types of guns. There's no kind of, oh, you have to have a pistol and you have to have this. You can go, oh, I want a double barrel shotgun and a lightning gun. You can literally pick any two guns from what they've got. And then you can pick like a throwable item, so like a grenade or a teleportation device. Or a thing called a siphon grenade where you throw it and it absorbs enemies' health if they're next to it. But yeah, it's to be expected. It's like full out gore. It's very violent. You can sneak up on people. If you sneak up behind them, usually you can assassinate them. One thing I did was I tripped a guy up by his legs. So I sweeped his legs up. He flew in the air, so his body's sort of at a 90-degree angle. And then as he was falling, I kicked his skull right off of his shoulders, and it flew off. Oh. It was gruesome, but there's something really satisfying, weirdly satisfying about doing that in the game. And it's very fast paced, so campers, you can't camp in this game really. There's so much going on, and you don't really have a moment to think because there's people dying every single second, and it's just fast paced. You move fast generally, so you don't really have a sprint. You can shoot people with a shotgun and all their limbs will explode. Rather than that, a little bit like how World at War was for Call of Duty, where you could shoot someone's limb off. This goes to the extreme, and all of their limbs just all explode everywhere. So I think that I was trying to think of whether you would enjoy it, Steve, whether you would like the multiplayer, and I think. While I think you'll enjoy the other stuff more, I think you'll still have a blast with the multiplayer because it's smaller, small maps with tight corners and fast-paced action and just a lot of explosions and gunshots going on all the time and lots of gore and blood and everything like that.
I can't wait for that game.
Yeah,
like you said, I think I don't know because it's pure gore. It's different to Call of Duty, obviously.
Oh, yeah, miles different. Because, while you could shoot limbs off with a trench gun in World at War, in Doom, you don't just shoot a leg off, you shoot all their limbs off if they're right next to you. And the assassinations are brutal. And you can do these taunts as well. Also, I should mention you can customize your guns with like camos. You can make your own camos because you put a pattern on it, and you can say what color you want the pattern. You can even change the color of what your character's like armor looks like, or what the color of. You can change the gun so it either looks really pristine and clean, or it looks all dirty and covered with mud and looks all gritty. So you can do loads of tweaks like that with all of your guns and customize each one. But you can. These assassinations are so brutal when you literally grab someone's head and you ram it into your knee full force, and it's just so brutal. So if you don't like the idea of a shooter that is complete, it is Doom, so it is to be expected, but if people thought with this kind of essential reboot, I guess, of the Doom games, they thought it was going to be any different. This is the same kind of classic. That's the game that you have most on your radar right now, isn't it?
Yeah, Doom. That's the only one I'm really kind of looking at.
And other than Doom, I've been playing more of The Division. I've put in, for anybody who's interested, I have put in 160 hours, I think, into the game.
I haven't played that. Oh, sorry, played it. I haven't bought that and the reason why I haven't bought it, I know this sounds really cheesy and kind of really weird.
You're going to say because I own it on PC and not...
Yeah, and because you don't have it on console, so that's
Yeah, I said this before when on a previous episode with Andy, but the thing with The Division is I've played it on my own for quite a considerable amount of hours, but I've got like a group of about 10 or so people that I rotate who I play with, and some of those people are just random people from the community, because if anybody's heard of Discord, it's basically like TeamSpeak or Raid Call, those kind of things, where you can join the Discord server for The Division on PC. You go on there. There's over 7,000 members on there signed up, and so you've got a chat room, and you can go into little voice chat groups, like rooms. And I've sort of been hanging around a lot on there and making some new friends. I was playing with the most diverse group of people the other day, where there was one guy who has a 12-hour time difference from me. So I was playing at midday and he was playing at midnight, and he was all the way in Hawaii.
Oh wow!
I was playing with another person. I was playing with a girl who's in Australia as well, and then another guy who was in like Sweden or something. So I had this really diverse group of people that I play with. But in terms of playing it on your own, it's nowhere near as enjoyable than if you have a group of people to play with and you can play with those same people. Because the problem is if you don't have a same kind of group that you can follow along with, if you start out leveling them and you start getting better stuff than them, it's kind of, they need to catch up really, because I guess it's kind of like the Borderlands thing, where you go, do you want to play some Borderlands, and then they're like level 10 and you're level 50, and then you have to go and help them level up. I've done that loads on Borderlands. I have vague memories of helping people level up really quickly to get my friends up to our level. And that's a kind of similar thing here if you don't have that same group of friends to always play with. But I got round to eventually writing my review for it as well. And I basically said in that, the very summarised point is, if you like the idea of a serious third-person version of Borderlands, which isn't as goofy and silly as Borderlands, but it's more serious, it's in third person, then it's basically a very close comparison to that. But it's more of an MMO than Borderlands ever was, because it's going to have years and years of support and content and free updates. So I'm kind of interested to see how many hours I end up putting into that game, because I've already put 160 hours into the game. It's been out for 3.5 weeks. I've been playing it every day since release, basically, plus all the free updates, plus there's 3 expansions coming out this year alone, and then they're going to do a second year of support, I think, because they talked about the Division being like a platform rather than a game. So they've got the core foundation. It's a platform for more and more content rather than a singular game. You release it, you're done. So I could end up, I don't know, by the end of this year having put like 300 hours into it. I don't know, but I haven't got bored of it yet, and I'm still playing that. But yeah, the Doom was my one break from that game, really. I even went to the point where the other day I went out and I actually bought a Division t-shirt that I saw on offer. I'm such a sellout. I went and bought a Division t-shirt that I saw on offer for £10 and bought that in a game store. But yeah, that's enough about... I've talked about Division too much now. And that's enough about Doom. What we're really here to talk about, Steve, and I've built up to this point, is really interesting, because you guys are going to hear about Steve's reaction to what I'm about to say firsthand. And I don't think Steve's going to be happy about this, but we'll see.
Oh, God.
So...
Oh, God.
Obviously, we thought it'd only be right that before we did an episode where we talked about Battlefield 5 being rumoured to be set in World War II, and we had this whole discussion... World War 1, sorry. And we had this whole discussion about whether we'd like to see more shooters going back in the past, and whether we'd like to see more, whether there's too many futuristic shooters and that's dying out. This week, this episode, we're talking about the rumours for Call of Duty. Now, not really an industry insider, but someone who has a lot of friends in the industry, and has been right about certain things, like leaking or revealing certain things in the past, is Shinobi602. And on NeoGAF, he was asked about when Call of Duty was set. So, just for a bit of context, these are some of the things that Shinobi602 has been correct about in the past. He was correct about Halo 5 Guardians embargo and name. He was correct about some rumours for Battlefield Hardline. He was right about Quantum Break being delayed to 2015. He was right about Mass Effect at E3. He was right about Order 1886 releasing in February 2015, and Halo Anniversary 2, about Homefront receiving the announcement date for the Homefront sequel. All these things have been confirmed. He's been correct about. So, there is some weight to what this guy says, and, it's clear that what he says may be true. So, obviously, I've been building it up this whole time. What exactly is Call of Duty? If you see the title of this podcast, you've already guessed what it is, so this build-up means nothing to you. But for Steve, how does this idea sound, Steve? The next Call of Duty may be set very far in the future.
Oh,
space combat, full-on sci-fi. The next Call of Duty, reportedly, according to Shinobi602, who has friends in the industry, has come out and said that this is going to be set very far in the future. It's basically going to be a Call of Duty set in space.
So it's going to be like
now,
Star Wars.
You know when Infinity Ward had Call of Duty Ghosts and we had that small opening scene in space? Imagine an entire game built around stuff like that. I don't think... And obviously, okay, so Doom is not a World War II shooter, all that kind of stuff, but... and there are other shooters that not every shooter has to be a World War II shooter, but it seems like to me that Call of Duty is just going further and further into the future, where it's basically becoming Halo at this point. People joked years ago, and it's amazing, it's mind-blowing now when you look at it and you go, wow, people were actually right. I know we were all joking at the time, but when for the Call of Duty franchise they started to release more futuristic ones like Advanced Warfare and all that, people joked that, oh, I guess that eventually they'll just become like Halo. They basically are now. Because, I mean, what's your initial thoughts now that I've revealed it to you, what this rumour is of it being set in space? What are your initial thoughts, and what do you think of this? If this was true, how would you feel about it? It's made by Infinity Ward, by the way, as well. This one will be. So Infinity Ward making a Call of Duty set in space, reportedly.
It's going to be I don't know. It's going to be a really bad idea, and I wouldn't buy it.
It doesn't tickle your fancy at all.
No, not really, because if it's going to be in space, it's going to be no gravity, so you're going to be flying around everywhere. Unless they make it on kind of...
It just like, maybe it's not set in the middle of space, but it's set on some random alien planet kind of thing. Basically just...
So...
The problem I have with it is that...
We're going to have zombie aliens and stuff. Oh my god.
Well, I don't know. Well, you're just fighting other people who are like... I don't know. The way I imagine it is it just... Here's the question that I think is obviously Activision owns the Call of Duty franchise. Now, what other game does Activision own or that they have? Destiny. Now, the real question is, do you really need Call of Duty to be set in space? Won't it just become not a carbon copy, but when you've already got Destiny, you've already got Halo doing that are already established futuristic games, do you really need Call of Duty to go that same way? I feel like it'll just end up being like a spin-off from Destiny at this point. And what you've got to remember is, okay, yeah, it's worked for Halo. Halo's popular. It's, we're on Halo 5 now, and it's been going for, I don't know, just as long as Call of Duty has, basically. But the thing is that's always been set in the future, and they've had years and years to perfect that and make it work and make it feel right, and people are expecting it. It's the same as if you went, okay, the next Halo is going to be set in World War II. It's that similar thing of, well, that doesn't make sense, and that's a bit odd. I just don't see why they feel the need to constantly go further in the future, really.
Do you know what? I've said this for the past year now, and I'm going to stand by it, because like I've always been a massive COD fanboy, as Matt will tell you. That I've never let anyone talk.
I don't think I need to tell you. I think the people listening will.
Yeah. Well, anyway, looking at COD now, I really think COD is dying now. I really think they're trying to pull ideas out of the hat, because they realise that their loyal fanboys, as I once was, are now starting to walk away and go over to different titles, and they're getting desperate. Putting it on space, seriously.
You don't think then, because I know you've said in the past, I will not be buying the next one.
No, I won't.
I'm going to be really interested. I think we all.
Do you know what? Right? No. Do you know what? I will buy it. I maybe buy it for the zombies. It depends what. But the thing is, this.
But it's made by Infinity Ward, so is it even going to have that?
Well, I don't know, but if it doesn't, I won't have it. But this Call of Duty we've just got, yeah, I bought it for the zombies, and the zombies is absolutely shocking. It is shocking. Shockingly shit.
I mean, we've summarised it before about the bubblegum machine and all that.
Oh my god, yeah. You can eat a bubblegum.
But even with the zombies, they were going like down the supernatural route. And I know that obviously here's what people need to understand. If you're listening and you're going, wow, these guys don't know what they're talking about. I really enjoy the new zombies and Black Ops 3. That's fine. That's if you like that, we're not taking that away from you. But what you need to understand is, it is like that thing of, with people want Call of Duty to change. That is correct. Now, people might say we're contradicting ourselves by constantly asking them to change Call of Duty and make it fresh. But what we don't mean by that is what you've got in Black Ops 3, and Black Ops 3 basically just feels like a poor man's Titanfall. I'm sorry to say it. I'm sorry if I've pissed some people off by saying that, but it really does. It feels like a poor man's Titanfall to me. And then setting one in space, to me, it could just end up feeling like a poor man's Halo, or just a worse version of Destiny. It feels like, what we really want is, let's have one in, we want games that are creative and outside the box, but there's nothing creative and original about, let's just keep going in the future, because we've already got loads of futuristic shooters. When we say we want Call of Duty to innovate, we want them to do something that no one else is doing, which is why it's kind of exciting that Battlefield 5 may be the polar opposite to that. And I do see from one perspective, because I've been thinking about this over the last few days about the concept of a Call of Duty that's more sci-fi, is it is to some degree, this kind of contradicts what I am saying, obviously, but to some degree it is interesting that probably for the first time, I think for a while, we have Battlefield and Call of Duty, two of the main first-person shooter franchises, being possibly completely polar opposites. So you've got Battlefield 5 being possibly supposedly set, all the way back in World War One, and then you've got Call of Duty being set all the way in the future instead. So you've got two completely different games. So to some degree, it sounds beneficial to somebody who plays both of these games, and you don't go, oh, why would I buy Battlefield when Call of Duty will be exactly the same, it'll be similar. At least now that I guess there would be a reason to go, well, I've bought Battlefield 5, I know Call of Duty's not going to be the same this year because this one's set in space, or it's a sci-fi game, and this one is a World War One or World War Two game. So you have got these two different opposites. So it's interesting to say the least that is the case, because I don't think we've ever had that where both of these two competitive franchises have been so wildly different. If these reports, rumours, whatever you want to call them, are to be believed, I think that Call of Duty might be in trouble if this is true, because if they're kind of going ahead and doing that, Battlefield's going to stick out more, and because not everyone, but because a lot of people are screaming out to have a World War One shooter, World War Two shooter, or even shooter like one set in Vietnam, because I know that's a popular sort of setting and time that people really clamour to. But it feels like if this is true, Call of Duty is going to be like, actually, let's not do space next time, because look, Battlefield's one sold much better, and it's clear that people are sick of futuristic shooters. I feel like this could be the realization to them that, hey, maybe people have had too many of these kind of games, and we need to go back and do the ones we were doing before. It's like if any of us ate pizza every single day for years and years and years, and then we go, oh, I'm sick of pizza, I'd quite like pasta. And then you start eating pasta every single day for a year, and then you go, I kind of miss pizza because I'm sick of eating this pasta so much, and that's this kind of what's happening here. Is it the fact that Call of Duty being a futuristic shooter is an issue, or is it just all of them in general that you sort of not have an issue with but don't interest you at all? Like, have you ever been interested in the futuristic side of shooters?
I have, but I think it's mainly down to Call of Duty, because like, if Doom was to do, a franchise set in, I don't know, 2056 or whatever, I think that'd be different, because they'd have a different take on it, be completely different. But because it's Call of Duty doing it, look, you've only got to look at the last Call of Duty to realise that it was a pile of shite, and the zombies, well, oh my god, I only really bought that game just for the zombies, and
I think
it ruined it.
I think the one interesting thing I've realised, and feel free if you are listening to this and you're not in this group of people, but I've seen a lot of people that like Black Ops 3 are the ones that are new to the franchise, as opposed to the people that actually dislike the game are the ones who have been playing since Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare 2, World at War, those kind of early 2007, 2008, 9 years. I'm seeing more of those people kind of being sick of this game, and obviously some of those people could just be fatigued by playing so many of them and they're just bored of those games. But I feel like it's not true to say, to some degree, I think the whole argument about, oh, well, of course you're going to be sick of Call of Duty because you've been playing so many of them and it's just fatigue on a franchise. The thing that doesn't work about that is that how come, for example, that means that we should be fatigued by all first-person shooters. So the fact that me and you, Steve, are excited about Doom, it kind of breaks that logic. Because surely if we're fatigued by Call of Duty, which is a first-person shooter, and we've played so many first-person shooters, we should be sick of all of them, regardless of what franchise it is. So we shouldn't be interested in Doom. We shouldn't be interested in Battlefield. And I think it is more the setting and just the fact of, because we haven't had a World War One in such a long time, that's probably what's...
My overall opinion with COD, yeah, it's not the fact that it's set in the future. I don't have, I like playing games that are set in the future, and go back into World War and all that. It's the fact, if you look back at COD 4, how well that played, it was all basic. You look at the newest COD now. You've got all these kill streaks you can use. You've got all this stuff. It's the core mechanics that make up the game itself that makes it so bad. I think just look at COD 4. So basic. I would like them just to make a reboot of COD 4. That's what I'd like.
And I think that's why also I think that I realised, I think I even said this during the stream, but we're going back to Doom, is that simplicity is there. Like, the gameplay is fun. There's room to be competitive there, and there is depth to it. But in terms of how many kind of things are thrown on screen and how many different things, you're not cluttered with over complications of, oh, well, you've got millions of different things and you have to set kill streaks and you have to set these other specialist bollocks for Black Ops. Like Black Ops 3, the first thing is like, oh, you'll set with these specialists and then they have kill streak. The problem is that all of these things, this is the thing with Black Ops 3. I noticed this from the beta back when I played that. They haven't actually added anything new to the game. They've just taken old mechanics or old content and renamed it. So, for example, there are certain kill streaks that return in Black Ops 3. They've just renamed them to be something else. And I even the stuff of like the specialists, where you go, oh, well, you have your specialist skill that you can use. Like, I know there's that guy with the gravity, the spike things. He can slam he can slam them in the ground. Those are just extended versions of kill streaks, or score streaks, whatever you want to call them. And you'll start to notice, and I can't think off the top of my head, but if I went back and played it now, I can guarantee you that I'd be able to call out all of the different things of going, oh, but they've introduced this, and here's the trick with Call of Duty. People go, oh no, it is new, because look, they've introduced these 2 new things, and they're not new, only the name of them is new, and it's just been, so like it's like a reskin, and then they've changed the mode or whatever, and based it around whatever setting it is, so just making it a bit more futuristic, the same stuff. And it doesn't really feel like there's much room for innovation there. It's not that, like I said, I don't think it's the fact that people are mad that this is a franchise that is not changing, because clearly it's changed the setting. We've changed the settings. We've gone more in the future, but there's only so much that changes every time we go in the future. There's not much as noticeable going, oh, well, this time we're 40 more years in the future than we were last time. Unless depends what years you're going from. But if you go, oh, our last shooter was in year 2060, this one's in 2100, most people aren't going to notice a big difference there. But it's not the fact of there's this big, that it doesn't change, they don't change anything. It's the fact that they don't innovate. It's not the fact that Call of Duty doesn't change, it's the fact that it doesn't innovate. Like, there's no kind of true, they never kind of flip the script really. And it's because, obviously, people at this point are going to be like, well, of course they're not going to change it because the games sell really well still. But I feel the fact that if they just keep going more and more in the future, it's going to become more and more noticeable that the innovation isn't really there. And especially, I think it'd be really telling if the Battlefield 5 rumour is true. Because if they come out at E3 and we have these 2 separate games, so they go, well, Battlefield 5 is set in World War One, and Call of Duty is set, it's Call of Duty Future Warfare, they probably call it. And that's set in the year, whatever, like 2100 or whenever it's set. It's set in like more of a sci-fi setting. You get to a certain degree where you alienate the audience. If you keep going too far and far into the future, the people that started like talking crap about Halo and they don't like all the futuristic stuff in that game, and they don't like how the gravity works. Call of Duty, whether you like it or not, is moving more and more towards that kind of game. So the people can't go, oh, I don't like Halo, I don't like all that stuff, I like a more real shooter, like one that's more down to earth, more modern. That's going to become less and less of a case, and it's going to become, if it becomes more and more like Halo, you start alienating that core audience that you've built up. And that kind of those loyal fanboys will go, well, this isn't the game that the franchise I came to know and love. It's a similar thing with a lot of people, and me being one of them, didn't like Saints Row 4 because it alienated a lot of the people that liked the previous games, because they just changed the game too much to the point where a lot of people were like, well, this isn't the Saints Row that I love anymore, the one that I came to love over all these other games. So this could happen. The thing is, Call of Duty is able to go back to World War 2 or wherever, because they've done it before, so they're not going to alienate people. They've never gone properly, right into the sort of future like a sci-fi type space game. So it's a big gamble, and it's not a gamble that makes them really stand out because there are so many other shooters. If this was 2005, and this was the case, so that the next one was going to be set in space, they would stand out so much because, in 2005 there wasn't really many futuristic shooters compared to now. So they would have stood out, and they probably would have been a gamble, but it probably would have worked for them, and it would have skyrocketed them pretty much the same point. Like, it would have skyrocketed in the same way it did anyway. But now, because there's so many others doing that, it doesn't really make them stand out, and it's a big gamble. So I don't really understand where the payoff is.
Let me tell you this though, right? When I played Black Ops 3, when you're in the middle of you just left your game that you've lost, or let's just say this: you lost your game, and you're thinking it's to do with my gun setup. So you're in a party, and the countdown timer starting. It's on 50 seconds, so you've got to sort out and try and find out where you went wrong. You're going for all your kill streaks and all the other gun add-ons you can add on. You've got 50 seconds, right, to set this up. It takes longer to set up than 50 seconds, and the timer runs out, and then you're back into the middle of a game. If you were in a party, like in a lobby where it's a real fun lobby to play in because it's real competitive, you might leave that lobby, try and get back into another one, but you won't find one like that.
And the thing, I like I've said, I don't own Black Ops 3, but just from an outsider looking in, I've seen that they've introduced things like Call of Duty coins that you can buy, like microtransactions, and I know these are in other games, but it just doesn't help the cause when you've got Call of Duty coins that you can buy to get other stuff, and then this whole nonsense about black market or something. I mean, it just feels like, to me as a person who used to play all the other games, is that I think after the original Black Ops, which is in 2010, and I've seen other people say this, I'm not the only one, that's when the games started to go downhill. Because after that point, that's when the games started to they just tried to complicate things as much as possible to make it seem different. So they just tried to throw loads of different weird things in, which didn't really, I don't know. The thing is, I think the way, like with Doom, with Halo, a lot of the time the depth is in how you play, not what you play. So what I mean by that is, it's not by what loadout, like it's not like how every little intricate detail of what loadout you have that matters. It's how you play with those guns. So it's how well you play as a player, and like, in terms of dodging fire and flanking enemies and being accurate with the guns you use, and being smart with how you play, instead of it just being down to, I have these 10 different perks and I have a specialist thing. It just feels like to the point where Call of Duty was never about that before. They kind of alienate people more and more as every year goes by. And if a lot of my friends now try to get into Call of Duty that I used to play with at school, they would be like so confused as to what all these other things are. Like, hang on a minute, what's the black market? What are Call of Duty coins? Do I need them? I don't understand how the loadouts work now. Oh, this is in the future? I'm not used to this. I didn't like Halo, so why... I played Call of Duty because I didn't like Halo and the way that futuristic setting was. So I see this going one of two ways. The people who don't like games like Halo and don't like futuristic shooters, they're the ones who used to play Call of Duty, will now go to Battlefield because that's set in the past, or they'll go somewhere else.
I'm gonna say this. I might piss a few people off, I don't know, but
I'm sure we already have, to be honest. Yeah. What we've said, I'm sure there's a lot of angry people, and I apologise if you're one of those angry people, but this is just our opinion. I'm not. Well, what we're saying isn't true. Like, it's not fact. This is merely our opinions and what we think. So there's no right or wrong here. It's just the way that we feel.
I'm not apologising for that fact because I feel that Call of Duty is slapped me in the face. They offer microtransactions like they ain't had enough money off of me already. Yet they make a game that is just a load of... When the game was released, there was loads of problems with it. It's a load of bollocks. And I won't be buying another game. So I'm going to move over to Battlefield. And I'm not going to apologise for my my thoughts on this. Is that I've played Call of Duty since, COD 4. And I've been a loyal fanboy right up until Black Ops 3. When Black Ops 3 came out, I was in shock. And that's the only way I can describe it. The multiplayer shit, the zombies
The
are
thing
shit.
is, though, is didn't you enjoy Black Ops 2?
I did, yes.
But that's kind of futuristic. But see, that's when I kind of didn't like. The only Black Ops.
It took me a while to like it.
But the only Black Ops I've ever liked is the original one, and that was more set during the Vietnam sort of era, from what I can remember. It was more. It wasn't set in the future. It was set in the past from now, and you had all like AK-47s and all like those kind of guns. Though they were modern guns in the game, but they were all like prototypes that not many people had. And that's how the whole Black Operations thing fell into it, was that most people don't have access to these guns. They're all prototypes, and that was kind of cool. But that's the point I dropped off. I think after that original Black Ops, I lost interest. I'm sure we've mentioned this multiple times about losing interest and stuff, but I think it's going to be really interesting for me and for everybody who's listening to this and has been listening to the Spawn Point. For one thing in particular, is that the next, we're in the April now, so that's 4 months. The next 6 or 7 months are going to be very, very interesting. Pay close attention to Steve, because this is the point where we all pay attention to see what Steve says now as to whether later on he'll suddenly change his mind, or whether last minute he'll buy the game. I know he says this now, but he did do it last year and the year before that. So while I do believe this might be the case this time, there's a part of me that thinks you might get it anyway because of the franchise it is. And I know you're saying this now, I know you're saying no, but I'm sure you were as adamant about that this time last year.
The only way on earth I would buy Call of Duty again is for the zombies. But the thing is, right, Black Ops 3, I only bought that mainly for the zombies, and when I got it home, I couldn't wait to open it. I opened it up, I put it in, I played the zombies, and I was like, oh my god. Is there another, is this actually zombies, or is this something like an opening to the zombies?
It's all supernatural now, isn't it? And
it's a load of bollocks.
But would you agree that statement I made about that it feels like a big problem is that they're alienating a lot of their key audience? Like the people who liked zombies, they've changed this so much now that it's almost non-recognisable, but not in a good way, in a way of...
You've got these bugs that run around, and you've got to kill it. Right, listen, right? Just take the zombies back to basics, the way it was before in World at War. Why can't we just have those zombies again? Why do we have to have these things? You have to get these parts to unlock this. You have to do this to do that. Fuck off. Like, seriously, just give me the ability to play the standard zombies that I want to play, that everyone wants to play.
But, I mean, this goes back to the thing of... there was... With... Call of Duty 4, there wasn't... You had a few perks, and just going back to the whole thing about things being overcomplicated more in what you played rather than how you play, there was a lot of depth, and the competitiveness came more from... And this isn't the case with all games. Some games it is more about what you play rather than how you play it, and that's fine. But with Call of Duty in particular, the reason why COD 4 works so well, and this is my theory of why it works so well, was because the first thing, obviously, it was a modern shooter, which wasn't really seen as much, because you have to remember this was 2007, and modern shooters weren't as much of a thing, not at least in the sense of Call of Duty, and this kind of multiplayer games weren't as big as much. There may be Counter-Strike and stuff like that, but not on the grand scale that it is now. And that was the breakout moment where people had these modern guns. It was something they hadn't seen before, but in terms of, it was very accessible for a mainstream audience to play. Like my friends, it was very straightforward. You picked 3 perks. You didn't even pick your kill streaks, did you? You had 3, 5 and 7. That was it. They had them all set. So what you picked was, you picked your 3 perks, you picked what guns you want and what attachments, and that was it. Like maybe grenades. And then the depth to that game and the more competitive angle came from how good you are with those guns. Like, how good are you using a red dot sight? How good are you at flanking enemies or shooting them before they shoot you and getting headshots on them? And, being wary to watch out for snipers, and just, do you get what I mean by... I hope people understand what I mean by how you play the game rather than what you play, because what you play is more the fact of, all the intricate little things of picking, oh, well, I have this perk, this weapon, this gun, this attachment, this whatever. And how you play is more how well you are aiming the gun, or how well you are actually flanking the team or capturing an objective. Like, that's more of that thing. And I feel like a lot of reason why it was so successful at that time is during those 2007 to 2010, the games were so accessible, but they had enough depth to them. They had enough that you could customize so that you could still have your loadouts that felt personal to you, and it wasn't hard to get into. I feel like with Black Ops 3, with someone who doesn't play games very often, trying to explain them to the concept of how it works now compared to back then, trying to get their heads around it, they'll go, oh, I can't be bothered, I'll just play one of the old ones, or I'll play something else instead,
But let me tell you this, right? I was involved in a poll. It's ended now, but they tried getting Activision to look at it by, adding them into it. But I don't think Activision even gave a shite, really. But there was a poll, and it said if you want Activision to, the next Call of Duty to be whatever they're going to make, or would you want them to make a reboot of COD 4? 90% of the overall polls, and I think there was about 50,000 people that signed the poll, 90% of them said they wanted a reboot of COD, COD 4, and 10% of them wanted
like a remaster or
a remaster of COD 4. Yeah.
So just right. Make it from the ground up. That's
reboot it
like a proper, like a remake, not a remaster.
Yeah, a remake of COD 4, right? Okay. 90% of them said they wanted that. 10% they said they wanted, for them to go their own way. Well, I think that speaks for itself. I would want them to do a remake, but of course they're never going to do that, because the trouble with the Call of Duty franchises, they never ever listen to the community. All they think about is how much money can we make from this.
I think it's because they live in their own isolated bubble of they think that they have a good idea of what people. It's not they don't listen. It's more the fact that they beat to the sound of their own drum, and they think that everybody else has is playing the drum the same way. So they think that everybody is on board with what they're thinking. So when they talk about remaking old games or making a remastered collection of the Modern Warfare games or stuff like that, they think, oh, people say that, but I don't really want it. So they kind of they're aware of things that people are saying, but they kind of think they look at that part of the community and go, don't kid yourself. We know what you want. You don't want that. You say you want it, but you don't really when it comes to the reality.
It's like a child.
They think they're a parent. Basically, they're a parent, and they're saying to their child, "No, you say that you want ice cream, but you're going to complain about a toothache when you eat it." I like how I'm thinking of all these random examples, but it's basically that thing of they think that they know better. They think they know us better, and they think they know better than what we want, and that we don't have a clue.
Well, put it this way, right? You know when you were younger, and your mum would say, or your dad would say to you, don't do that, because obviously I've got life experience, and if you do that, you're going to make a big mistake. And you're like, what are you on about? You don't know what you're talking about. And then you go and do that, and you think, oh shit, they were right. This is like Call of Duty.
The thing is,
like they're the parent, and they're going, no, you don't want,
I mean,
like that.
The thing is, I guess obviously we can't ignore the fact that Black Ops 3 did still sell well, and it was still a number one in the charts for a long time. But I think that's because a lot of those... I'm not saying that Call of Duty doesn't sell well anymore. If I said that it didn't sell well anymore, I'd be an idiot and a liar. But it's more the fact that I think the majority of people that are playing it now are more of people who started playing a lot later than most of us, or people that started playing post... They started playing post Black Ops. I'm going to use that as a weight. People who played after 2010. So people whose first game was Black Ops 2. A lot of those people were like, oh, well, I love Black Ops 2. And everybody's first Call of Duty tends to be their favourite a lot of the time. And for a lot of people, 4 was their first game. So naturally, they loved that one the most. People who Black Ops 2 was their first, they love that game because it's their first time playing a Call of Duty game, and that it's like they don't know any better. They don't know how good it could have been or how good it has been. And we've talked about it a lot, Call of Duty in the past. I think we even did an episode where we talked about whether it could like a specific episode where we said like if the franchise was dying, and even though we have talked about that before, it's interesting to come back to it now and just kind of almost do like a new look at it and see if things have changed or see how we feel now. And I think it's even more noticeable, Steve, with you, that you're somebody who, and even I can say this, is that there's no word of a lie that me and you used to play these games all the time. Like we put hundreds of hours into them in the previous games, and then you started to see a gradual drop off point. I started to see, for Advanced Warfare, I barely played. Like for Call of Duty Ghosts, I barely played much of it. For Advanced Warfare, I barely played any of it. And then Black Ops 3, I didn't buy it. And I think gradually we've been playing less and less. I don't think you played as much as some of the more recent games. And then for Black Ops 3, you haven't really played it much at all, especially compared to some of the older games. So it definitely feels like there's this gradual drop-off point for everybody. And
it's getting very boring now. Very, very boring.
People are I think you're starting to experience what I experienced after Advanced Warfare, where I was like, well, I didn't really play this one much at all. Am I even really bothered about the next one? And I feel like you're getting to that point now from what I feel like, because of how much you've played of Black Ops 3. And if you think of that sense of enthusiasm for the next one that's going to be released, if you think about that a few years back compared to now, like back then you'd be like, oh my god, there's a new one coming out. I even remember being excited, going, oh my god, I can't believe there's a Modern Warfare 3? What, they're doing another one? And being so excited by that. Or even a sequel to Modern Warfare 2, everyone was like, oh my god, they're doing a sequel to this great game that we played. And compared to now, you're like, they're doing a new one. I wonder what that's going to be like. It's just that excitement isn't there anymore, at least for me. And I think you're getting to that point as well. But, I don't know if you'd agree.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've got anger like pent up inside me because
just let it out, Steve.
I'm gonna let it out right now. I've wasted. No, I haven't actually wasted. I've had a lot of fun playing Call of Duty. I've met a lot of people online, and I've actually met people from online and made real friends with them in real life. Yeah, and one of these people is Matt, right? But that's besides the point. I've made some online friends in real life, and some friends that are in America, and even as far as Australia and things like that. The thing is, my days on Call of Duty are over, and it's sad because that's where I met all my friends really. And do you know how sad it is? I'm not beating this game at all because it is a good game. I'm actually playing a lot of Minecraft on console, and I'm actually playing with a lot of people on that. And it's kind of sad really because I want to play the game I love, and I can't because every time I play it, I just want to smash my screen and smash my hand through the TV screen. That is how angry I get when I play it. But that's my rant over.
So wait, we're talking about you want to smash it when you play COD or Minecraft?
No, not Minecraft. Not Minecraft.
Okay.
COD.
I mean, Minecraft's a bit different for me because I don't necessarily think, because they're still adding more updates, and I think that's still not. That's more. I consider Minecraft more as a platform. Like, it irritates me when people talk about Minecraft 2. I'm like, just shut up, just shut up. Like when people say, "Oh, I can't wait for the sequel," that's like saying, "Oh, I can't wait for World of Warcraft 2." If you don't realise by this point that Minecraft is a platform and not a singular game, and that Minecraft is the kind of game that doesn't need a sequel. You just keep building upon it. Like, how do you do a sequel to that game? It would be the biggest disappointment since I can't think of a F1, but it would be it'd be highly anticipated, highly hyped, and all this stuff. But you don't really need it, and it would just either be too different to the point where people go, "This is not Minecraft," or it would be too much the same where you go, "Well, hang on, why couldn't you just put this in an upgrade?" instead of charging us more money to buy the game again. So with Minecraft, it's the kind of platform where you keep adding more and more updates, more free updates, because in some senses, I know people will disagree with this, there will be people, but Minecraft in some senses is an MMO. And I know some people are like, what? Like, that's rubbish, but on PC you can play in large groups of like hundreds and hundreds of people in servers and all that, and it is supported like it's an MMO because you get more and more updates for that. And I think the reason why, and I know this isn't about COD anymore and it's a bit derailed, but the reason why I sort of stopped playing that was just because I played so much of it and I got burnt out. And that's a little bit different because I haven't got burnt out with shooters or first-person shooters. Heck, I've played 160 hours of The Division, which is a third-person shooter at its core. I've played the Doom beta, and I'm really excited for that. I've played Halo 5, and I really love that. So I'm still playing shooters and have been burnt out by them. It's just, it's different with Call of Duty. It's not playing so much has made me bored of it. It's just what they've done with it has made me bored of it. You know, and I think that that's something we both feel. It's not the fact of, oh, I've put so many hours into Call of Duty now, I'm bored of those kind of games. It's more, what have they done to this franchise? I'm bored of what they're doing now, I think. But,
Yeah, I don't know. I just Call of Duty. When I start talking about Call of Duty, I can feel the blood starting to boil in my veins because I get so fucking angry with the way they do things, you know. And it's just like I want them to make a game that I want to play, that I will enjoy again. Remake COD 4 because, you know, it's just I want to play with all my friends again, and I can't because all my friends don't play the games that I play.
getting upset again.
Yeah, I am getting upset.
That's kind of like, and then don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to suggest that these games are anything alike, but in terms of the sense of that kind of the go-to game that I go to used to be COD. It did, and say what you want about that. Say, oh, he's a COD player. He's not a real gamer. He doesn't play hardcore games. But that used to be my go-to game back then, and like now, I think it's going to become The Division. And I know not everyone loves that game, and I know that there's been some mixed opinions about it. But because I love Borderlands, and because this is similar to Borderlands with how you get loot and you get these weapons that drop from enemies, and I always wanted a more serious Borderlands, and Destiny failed to be that what I wanted that to be, and The Division kind of has scratched that itch for me of a shooter that I can really get hooked on, and the fact that they're sort of continually giving that free updates and expansions and more content, I feel like that's more going to be my go-to game now in terms of my go-to shooter at the very least, of the game I keep coming back to and playing more and more of, and that all my friends are playing. Because I went into a game store the other day when I bought this t-shirt for The Division. Do you know what I saw? I didn't see stacks, and I realised this is because it has been released recently. But I saw an entire row of games dedicated to The Division. No other games. That entire row was The Division. I saw people queuing up to buy a copy of The Division. I saw kids asking their parents if they could buy this game for them. And that's the kind of thing I used to see for Call of Duty back in the glory days. And I feel like a lot of people seem to be coming from there and going, I need to find a shooter that can scratch that itch for me now, because just the new games that they're doing aren't doing it for me anymore. And so this is what's going to happen. People start flocking to all the old school Call of Duty players that I used to know, they've gone elsewhere. They've gone to Battlefield, they've gone to Halo, they've gone to The Division, they've gone to Destiny, they've gone to somewhere else. And the ones that tend to remain are all of the fairly new players that are new to the franchise to some degree. And I think I've kind of found my replacement game, fortunately for that. But unfortunately, Steve has yet to. Maybe Doom can scratch that itch for a bit.
Hold on a minute. Whoa. Are you getting Doom on console or on PC? Don't you dare say PC. Don't you dare.
I don't.
Please.
Do you know what? I want to get it on console because I realise...
Everyone in the comments, tell Matt to get it on PS4, because if he gets it on PC, I'll have nowhere to play with.
I've been tempted, and I know I said I'd do this with The Division, but that's a different case, because The Division...
I can understand with The Division,
you have to sink a lot of hours into that, and doing that all again, I say do it all again.
No, do you know what, right? If I could afford to buy a new PC to run Division, I would. But if I had the choice between getting Division on PS4 or on PC, I would definitely get it on PC. But my PC wouldn't run it.
And the other thing with that is just, it's more, I've committed loads to one character. Doom is more of a game where you can accessibly play, jump from one console to another. You don't have to worry. There are levels, and you do unlock skins and all that stuff, so that's all there. And there's a level progression and all that. In the beta, it's only level 15. I think it'll be higher than that in the full game. But I think I've been tempted to get it on both, like on console and PC, because then I know it looks gorgeous, and it ran at 60 frames per second from what I've played, and it looks gorgeous. So I really want to see what that's like on PC, and just playing that with mouse and keyboard. But then again, the reason why I want to get it on consoles is obviously the whole snap maps thing, and doing that with you, Steve, will be so much fun that I can go to you, hey, look, there's like 500 different levels that we could play right now. What do you want to play? Someone's made a map here, and people can not just make maps for you to play on, but they can change like the enemies and how much health they have and what weapons they have. So it's like there's loads and loads of endless content, and doing that co-op with somebody else, like it's like having zombies in Call of Duty, but there's loads of custom maps you can download, and people can customize what the zombies, how strong the zombies are, and where they spawn and stuff. It's like that, but in Doom, and built around Doom's enemies and all that kind of stuff. So I want to get consoles purely for that, because then I have someone to do that with, and then do that co-op, and we can play together doing all that. I'm kind of surprised that even after all these years, just going back to COD, I'm surprised that they don't have a map editor, like a level editor that you can create, because it seems like that's
COD.
Yeah, because that's the thing that so many games have now, is that the community can make their own levels, or even for zombies, you can make your own maps, and you can choose where things spawn, or you can actually move objects and make buildings and stuff like that. But maybe that's because that would make buying their DLC irrelevant. It's weird that a lot of other games aren't selling their maps anymore. Rainbow Six Siege doesn't sell their maps anymore. Rainbow Six Siege doesn't sell the maps. Halo 5 doesn't sell their maps. Like, they're all free because they don't want to divide the community. You've got games like Rocket League, where those new stadiums that they make for that, they're free, because loads and loads of people, like loads of developers now are like, we don't want to divide the community between those who've paid for new maps and those who haven't. We want everyone to be able to play on the same things. And it seems like Call of Duty is the one that's left standing. I mean, Battlefield as well, I guess. But it's weird that they're one of the few that are still charging ridiculous amounts of money for like 4 maps. Whereas with Halo 5, you got 4 maps in the space. You get a new map every month, it seems. But I feel like we're sort of going on a loop now and just repeating the same stuff. So it's probably best to wrap up this episode. But, we're interested to know what you guys think. If you've been listening to this so far and you completely disagree with what we're saying, you think we're a bunch of idiots, and you would like to disagree, as long as you don't insult us, you disagree and you kind of list why, that we'd be interested to see that, because this, and at the end of the day, these are all opinions, and we're all free to have our own one, and let's have a discussion about it, because it's interesting to see what everyone would like to see, what everyone wants, and we'd like you to share that with us so that we can sort of get your feedback as well, because it's not just me and Steve that are part of those communities, it's you guys as well. So, we want to know what you think. But yeah, this has been episode 57 of the Spawn Point podcast. As always, be sure to check out our Twitter, just twitter.com/retrogaming. If you're listening to this on YouTube, you're probably already subscribed, but if you're not, then you've just listened to an entire podcast episode with me and Steve, so you obviously like our content, so be sure to click that subscribe button. And we're on iTunes as well. You can subscribe to our podcast on iPhones, and we also stream on Twitch at least once or twice every week, usually on Wednesdays and Fridays, and often Tuesdays as well. But other than that, thanks for joining me today, Steve.
Thank you very much, Matt, for having me. I am part of the podcast.
Yeah.
But yes.
And in the next episode of the podcast, it might just be me and Andy, because we're going to an event in the UK here called EGX Rezzed, and we'll probably be trying a lot of VR headset stuff. And I know we talked about virtual reality loads, and we've beaten it to death in the past, but this will be our next chance to try the VR headsets again. And maybe I'm trying to book an appointment for the PlayStation VR stuff. So I've been keeping an eye out for that, because you actually have to book appointments for that, because it's quite in demand, I think, for people to try that. But yes, that will probably be the next episode. But until then, or until our next live stream, we will see you guys later. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
I'm waving at the camera.
I'm waving at my camera as well, but there's no camera on. Bye.
Bye.